Let's join together in awakening the spirit that lives within all of us, that we may live more fully and know what it truly means to love and actually be ourselves. So, welcome. Let's explore our sexuality, authenticity, yoga, and human design, all of which intersect and meet at the Cross of Spirit. Hello, and welcome back to the Cross of Spirit. I'm your host, Rocky, and I'm super excited about today's episode. I have one of my longtime, yoga friends, yoga contacts, Ginger Reinelt, on the podcast. Ginger and I met, it was like 10 years ago. She was a part of a 300-hour teacher training that I was co-facilitating with my colleague, Noah Maze. And she was a participant in that training, and we connected, we vibed. She certainly made a lasting impact on me in my life, but I didn't talk to her for a number of years. And a couple months ago, I was on Instagram, and I saw that she had gone live to offer what she had in the header as a masterclass on 6 lines on the roof. So of course I perked up, what's Ginger doing teaching about 6 line on the roof energy, and opened up the live and was just captivated by the power and the authority and the wisdom that she was conveying. So Ginger is a 6'2" splenic projector. She is a business mentor that uses human design as really a model for how to guide humans, other types, into sustainable business structures, business models that work for their design. So that's certainly something that's been really front of mind for me as I've been navigating this new, pivot, if you will, from my role, my label in the world as a yoga teacher, into something that feels more resonant with the truth and the pure essence of who I am and what it is that I'm here to facilitate. So I've been so enthralled and empowered by what I've learned from Ginger so far, ever since stumbling across her content on Instagram and actually diving deeper into her world and her learning resources. And so, yeah, I'm stoked to get to share her wisdom, her essence with all of you on this episode. And you'll find, we just have a conversation, but her information is like codes, transmissions that if you're hip to it, if you're paying attention, there's a tremendous amount of upgrades contained within the frequency of what she has to share. So I'm honored for her attention. I'm honored for her taking a look at my chart and sharing some of what she sees, and for the gift of her company on today's episode of Cross of Spirit. So hope you enjoy. There's links where you can find Ginger down below in the show notes. Definitely check her out, step into her world, and receive the brilliance of what she has to offer. All right. Thanks, you guys. Enjoy. Hi, Ginger.
Hello. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you for the gift of your presence and your attention and your wisdom. You having a nice day?
Yes, it is Sunday. It's usually a very creative day. So Saturday is always kind of the more introspective day, and Mondays as well. So I usually take Mondays not off, but a little bit slower. It's moon day, right? Monday is moon day, and Sunday is sun, and I really feel a lot of creative energy, and I usually create a lot of content or plan new projects and new launches and offers, and so I love Sundays.
So definitely not an off day for you. It's not like a rest day.
I'm
as it is
never
for
never
many.
off. No.
Yeah, I was inspired by so, as I'm sure we'll get into, but when I was taking your course on 6-line marketing, or kind of doing business as 6-line, you were mentioning a lot about Fridays being your flow day.
Oh yeah.
And not taking any clients necessarily unless it's in flow for you. And that was really great role modeling for me, because it's so easy for me to just kind of always be not available, but always be available to see if I'm available, And
Yeah.
I chose to take this Friday off, and it was really sweet
Yeah.
to get to just do
It's
my
so
thing.
interesting. We're right in it. We're right in the topic, because I noticed that the more differentiated, the more we live our design. I am more in tune with the cosmos, with nature, and not so much homogenized, programmed weekdays, weekends, right? It has never been that for me, and now I'm really living that way. And when we go through the days of the week, it's like I said, Sundays is sun day, Monday is moon day. It's really more yin energy. So everybody goes like, it's Monday and we have to go hard and all the team meetings and but it's actually more this receptive energy. So I am more introverted. Yes, I check in with my clients on Mondays, but I also use this day as intention setting for the week, setting things up, being prepared. It's not such a young energy about getting out there and doing things. That's why Sunday is more young energy of creating. And I know what I want to do this week. I have my own show on Sundays. It's more extroverted. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, I love to be more active. I have Tuesdays as all my coaching day, full on coaching day, my own coach call with my mentor. And then I'm in mastermind. Then I have my clients. And then Wednesdays is more content creation. Again, a little bit more. It's Mercury day, but I do not feel always so expressing that out, especially after
Mm,
talking as an undefined throat the entire Tuesday. And then Thursdays, I love to have events and um, going live or creating something external, also with client calls or group calls. This is what I love to do on Thursdays. And then Fridays is Venus Day. Yeah. So Friday, I usually go and we celebrate with clients. We look at, okay, what is working instead of only looking at what is not working. And I still don't have this. This is not, I'm not there yet. So I really make this an intention. And for me, I had a phase where I stepped away a little bit from it to have no client interaction on that day but then lately, especially after coming back from London with where I want to head, especially as a projector, spaciousness is key to as a six line for us
mm,
as well, for any six line to integrate, to have more space for
mhm,
this introspective self-reflection, self-analysis, creativity. All these things need to land, and therefore we need to step
mhm,
away of responding or observing and recognizing as the different
mhm,
types, especially as well as manifestors need this downtime, the introspective to initiate the right things and knowing what to inform about. And reflectors anyways, like the more spaciousness they have. And so on Fridays I am working more on my energetics, and I go to the spa, or I just hang out in town, and my defined ego loves to shop, but not to buy all the things. Not every Friday is like a big shopping day,
mhm,
but just material and touch cognition and all that. This is how I get creative. So these things need to land. I also have a wide split, so I need other people to bridge that
mm,
split. Just because I have an idea doesn't mean that my spleen already says this is healthy and thrive. And in past days where I was not so integrated in my design, I would just go for it with all the ideas that I have as a defined head. It's like all the time. That's why I could also work all the time. But then there was this overworking
mhm,
of the sacral. So Fridays, there's no client interaction, but actually, I'm really making big moves in my business when things land. When there's a big clarity
mhm,
coming in about all the things that are kind of swimming around in the ether, usually these things land also when I have certain things integrated. And then again, Saturday is my day off also from Ashtanga, where I kind of sort and sift and just float more. Like Saturday is really the day where
mhm,
I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want to, like, this is sometimes
mhm.
really interesting. And then Sundays, the week starts for me. So that was an energetic overview over my week.
Wow. Well, I mean, I'll just say that I'm really what's been really inspiring about coming back into being in your orbit and getting to learn from you is just the very intentional boundaries that you place
Mhm.
around yourself, both I mean, just as a human, but certainly as a six line, as a projector, like that you have, I mean, even that you have that mapped out for yourself of like really how to structure your week to advantage your own energy flow and like accommodate your own energy needs is in and of itself just really inspiring for me because as a generator, like I've I've what depletes me is not likely going to be the same. Like sometimes I'll be in these calls or I'll be talking to somebody or interacting with someone and they'll say like, "Are you sure? Can we keep going? Like, do you need a break? Do you need a rest?" And I'm so lit up by the work that I do. I always have been to a certain extent that it's easy for me to give it away for free, and it's easy for me to. Mm, a story that I've had is that work is not the thing that I do that I enjoy. Work is like the sacrifice that I make. And so as I've been
Mm.
finding more satisfaction in my work, in the things and even recognizing that the things that I do naturally and that I enjoy are also things that I can bring into my business. Like that's the
That's
most sustainable way for me to craft a business.
that's the
But
business
I still
plan.
need to put boundaries around those things because yeah, right. But it's still easy for me to be like, well, I'm so enjoying this. Let's just keep going. And like, so oftentimes the flow for me is not taking a break from work. The flow for me is finding ways to incorporate more of what I love into my work, into my business.
Yeah,
But regardless, it's still important for me. Certainly, this last chapter for me has really, hmm, it's deepened my understanding of what it means to actually wait
that's the point. Yeah.
and the self-regulation piece that I used to really think about, okay, well, what can I do while I'm waiting? And I realized that that's sort of a paradox because the waiting is actually not doing and it's just being and
Mhm.
it's letting my nervous system regulate and relax and chill and then seeing what I feel, motivated naturally to move towards.
Yeah, and I can add a little fine line and refinement to it because there's also a big
Mm.
misunderstanding to what waiting means for any type. Any type has to wait.
Mm-hmm.
Manifestors for
Mm-hmm.
the urge, sequels for the right things to respond to, projectors for the recognition and the invitation, or let's say they have to wait for the invitation, and then the reflectors for the correct environment. I want to say that this to keep going. So what I learned, where actually I learned those boundaries from a generator. I was working with a generator coach, and she was absolutely not into design, but she's a very good coach in terms of leadership. So boundaries, it's
Mm.
really about leadership. It's about self-empowerment. It's about self-leadership and setting clear boundaries. So I'm not mothering you. This initiation into my leadership came through her. And
Mm.
also how to communicate it. I do believe that a lot of people do not know how to set boundaries from a very empowered place, not even healthy, unhealthy, from an
Mm-hmm.
empowered place because it's lacking in the initiation of our parents to us. So we have not been
Mm-hmm.
initiated and empowered in those up in the upbringing. It was just mothering and nurturing and not initiating and
Mm-hmm.
empowering, right? So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people feel they have soft boundaries, some people cross boundaries. But then when we talk about boundaries, or what we hear in the industry a lot is this, I'm going to set boundaries. And that is very much from a not self, very much from a wound, very much from a overly protecting defense mechanism versus saying, I
Mm-hmm.
accept, I see you, I understand what you want and what your intention is, but this is not correct for me. It doesn't feel good to me, or even not saying correct, but just it doesn't feel good to me. And knowing how to communicate that in a non-emotional, non-defensive way, that is the lacking point. It's
Mm-hmm.
not so much a boundary problem, it's more the communication. That's my biggest strength. It's interesting because I'm now I always thought that my undefined throat would be like, I cannot really communicate, or I don't find the words so clearly, and I'm not so concise, and I need longer to get to the point and all that. That was a not self-belief. But now I find that also the mentors taught me also ways to put things into words. And when we then know how to express ourselves, we can master our undefined centers and the not self even more, because I always feel so empowered because no matter what happens, I feel I'm so connected to my authority that I know, yeah, and this is right, this is not right. And then I know how to
Mm-hmm.
communicate this. And this gives me the power to hold boundaries. And then this is an internal boundary. It's not an external boundary. Even before people cross them, yeah. I'm already there. I'm not on guard. Like, yeah, this is the difference. When you know what to say and and no matter what happens, and especially with our undefined solar plexus, there can be this is why people avoid the communication because there is a discomfort of, oh my God, when then the other person is sad or disappointed or
Mm-hmm.
angry or mad, and we amplify it. So people don't set boundaries because they're avoiding then and not self of the solar plexus, avoiding these emotions. And emotional intelligence and communication and leadership is what I learned and what I now am more bringing. This is good that we're talking about this because I feel now even more called to speak to leaders or who see themselves as leaders. And not everybody who just says, I'm ready to lead is really capable and also designed to step into leadership. And then we're going to talk about that. I just want to close that thing with the waiting so that I don't forget, because I would love to talk about leadership with you. I
Mm-hmm.
think that the whole, overgiving is definitely an ego and a solar plex and a sacral thing. So the not self of
Mm-hmm.
the ego and the sacral is not knowing when enough is enough, no matter if you have it
Mm-hmm.
defined or not. It's the not self. And the undefined, and then the ego not self is people pleasing, and overly caring, and to in order to receive something I have to give or I have to prove myself and all these things. So when we say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I actually in this whole waiting thing, it's more about slowing things down and not so much of
Mm-hmm.
not doing anything. So when I slow down, like, okay, let's hold on a moment. Is this still aligned when we go 90 minutes, 2 hours instead of 1 hour? It's slowing down, no pressure, no rushing. And I feel this helps any time to connect back to the authority and then being able to communicate this. And when we talk about really understanding, is this something I want to respond to? Is this a recognition? Is this a right invitation? Is this now really relevant for me to inform, to initiate for manifestors, right? Then I do believe that there's a misconception that waiting means being. This is too, like you said, it's not doing anything. That's not true. That's actually not true. And this whole being concept is also something where I'm very kind of fixed on to debunk a little bit. Because if you
Mm-hmm.
really follow your type, your monopole pulls you into life. It's not just
Mm-hmm.
resting. Actually, you have to engage with life so that sacrals have really become a better understanding about their response mechanism, and you have to get stimuli from life in general. And if what you respond to in the life that you're living is not really what you want to respond to, you got to do something to change your life. You have to get into another environment. You got to change your friend circle. You got to get out of that job. Like get out there, and you need something to that you can respond to. And if these things are not a yes to you, you got to change. You got to change. You got to do something about it. But that's the problem, that a lot of people sit there. Oh, I just don't. I just wait until I have something, like projectors as well. I wait for the invitation. No, projectors have to
Mm-hmm.
create recognition for what they want to be invited for. And manifestors as well get to slow down even more until they find the urge and also inform people in the correct way to find activation. There's that, so that is kind of my shortcut on waiting. There is always something to do to be more yourself, and then you get the right things
Mm-hmm.
to respond to.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mhm.
Well, I'm going to respond to that and say that I recognize the importance of of doing something, like bringing yourself into a new environment and getting kind of that momentum going where you have an opportunity to respond to life. At the same time, and maybe it's just semantics, but for me, the slowing down process is actually, for me, has actually connected a lot to addiction,
Mm.
and specifically around
Yeah.
dopamine most recently, and recognizing that a lot of the things that I was doing, even the things that were, good for me or good for my business or good for my body, they were all these sort of quick, or not even quick, but they were all these dopamine
Yeah.
hits that I was kind of getting accustomed to. And so for me, the waiting is not necessarily about just like being and not doing anything. It's really about letting my dopamine kind of find
Yeah.
its way back to
Yeah.
baseline, so that the next thing I respond to actually gives me the natural motivation to move
Yeah.
towards it.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm waiting, but while I'm waiting, I'm scrolling on my phone,
No,
or
no,
if
no.
I'm
That is,
waiting, I'm just kind of getting these little instant
yeah.
gratification pieces. So for me, it doesn't take that long of like doing
Yeah.
nothing, but it just takes some time to let my baseline recalibrate, so that then the next right step is more natural, as opposed to me trying to figure it out, or me trying to just like keep myself on this dopamine high.
Absolutely.
And it clicked in for me in such a powerful way recently, really, after we went through all these like emotional transits a few weeks ago. Like, there was so much upheaval for me, recognizing my addictions and the things that, large and small, the ways that I was kind of going, because I was hooked on that feeling of reward. um and so yeah, I've been giving myself more time to self-regulate,
That's a good
even
point. Yeah.
just being more generous with myself, and kinder with myself.
Yeah.
So where I'm not trying to accomplish anything, but I'm just respecting myself and being gentle with myself. And then like the motivation kicks in, and I'm actually way more on fire. You felt
Yeah.
it, way more on fire than I've felt in
Years.
years,
Yeah.
to move forward, not trying to prove, not trying to,
Um,
not less concerned about who I trigger or who's upset by it, and really just letting myself be motivated from a more natural place.
Absolutely. And when I'm looking down, I'm looking actually at your chart. Yeah, on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm always like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
where is he talking from? This is how I usually work with my clients. I don't do readings. I don't stare at the chart and then I give information. My clients give me information, and then I right away see and hear and pick things up where things are not fully either understood in the correct way or lived or integrated, or even there's the conditioning. So what you said is this: I have to, there's actually a lot of unlearning of the ego, undefined ego that you just talked about, because it is, I don't
Mm-hmm.
have to prove, but also I don't have to deserve to rest. I don't have to
Mm-hmm.
work first and
Mm-hmm.
deserve it and feel, okay, now I have worked. It's a lot of generators like, okay, now I have done some effort. Now I can rest and allow
Uh-huh.
myself to rest, right? But the work of a generator, when I say what change your life, to actually seek the joy. Seek the joy and do what
Mm-hmm.
makes you happy. And this is exactly where a lot of sacrals, first they have, and a lot of women don't have a connection to their sacral anymore. And they have to reconnect and get out of this
Mm-hmm.
purely workforce energy and go into, okay, what does actually feel a sacral lit up, a joy? Yeah, and this has to be unlearned. And this requires slowing down, because the nervous system is
Mm-hmm.
on fire, is in fight and flight mode through this overstimulation of our time, of our social media. And we all were already in our background as yoga teachers, both of you, we knew how many people were just leaving before Shavasana because they had to go into traffic and the next thing, right? There's so much mental effects onto the nervous system. And then actually what I want to, it's maybe a different interpretation of, for your chart in particular, you have a defined route. So even if your sacral says, I want to do this, there is no go time for you unless you feel the pulse of the root.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
this is what you just described. The root is not on the entire time. The sacral can get on when there's the impulse. So it's kind of the fire starter, a kick starter that turns the engine on, but it needs to come from the root. So if there's something like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you want to do some like a project or whatever, and it's for the result and for the idea. But as soon as there is no root energy, a pulse, so the root center works in pulsation. And this is what you just
Mm-hmm.
described. Like, oh, suddenly there is more momentum and more fire. It's just because there's space for it, that really there's an energy for it, because it is about regenerating energy when you slow down. Yeah, it's not just
Mm-hmm.
generating energy towards something that you want to do as a sacral. It's also in that time where you just rest and relax and do even more what makes you happy, even though the work is also fun, right? Um, then you
Mm-hmm.
regenerate, and a lot of sacrals have to learn no, say no to something,
Mm-hmm.
or saying not now. It's a yes later. It's a no now. It's a yes later,
Uh-huh.
because
Uh-huh.
yeah, because then I can come back with even more excitement, more regenerated energy, and am more of service for others. Even if it's just, do you want to go out for dinner? Not now. Give me just an hour. Let's go in an hour. Then I'm more happy and regenerate. Like, these little things are very important to understand.
Especially being splenic. I mean, that's been the most practical application, I suppose, of understanding my strategy and authority, is just being able to share with people. Like, if I say if it's a no, it's just a no for now. So like, people say, are you available this weekend? You want to do something this weekend? And I can say, right now it's a yes, but ask me again in a few days, because my truth is only in the now. It was when I first learned about my authority, I I was a little worried, because I felt like I was just going to be saying no to everybody, and I was going to become much less generous and much less helpful and supportive of my friends and community. And I had an experience um, on retreat. Actually, I was co-leading a retreat a few months ago, and it was the first time I'd really been in community, since understanding my design. So much of it had been online. Um, and also showing up to facilitate. And so it was really important for me to have clear energy boundaries for myself, so that I could sustain what I had to do for the week. And so I shared with everybody at the beginning of the week, basically, I'm here to be of support and to share, and to be of service in the ways that I can, the ways that are correct for me. If you have any needs of me, or if you wish to engage with me in any way, just ask if I'm available. And if I am, I am. And if I'm not, it might just be, that I need 5 minutes. So please don't take it personally. And everybody respected it so well. And really, and when they forgot, they go, oh, sorry, like, is it okay to ask you a question? And what was so sweet to recognize about my sacral is that when I gave myself permission to say no, probably throughout the whole week, 10% of the time it was and the other 90%, it was such an enthusiastic yes. I was so available, and it felt so good to share and to say yes. And I had so much energy, and it was like, I've never had such energy in a facilitation space, like, where I was not feeling like I had to like go claim my alone time, or convince people that I needed some time to myself. So I guess just recognizing that giving myself permission to say no, in the times when it truly is a no, even if it's just no for now, unlocked so much energy and so much
Yeah.
capacity to say yes. So, and I've seen that show up in a lot of different areas of my life, certainly with family, and with mom, and
Yeah.
with those people that want to sort of convince you to say yes before they even ask you,
Yeah, it is
So
really
yeah,
interesting that I
it's
noticed.
power and no.
Absolutely, there's a power in the no, and my sister's a generator, a 1-3 generator, and
Mm,
she actually has a similar design like you, the same centers active, and she initiates a lot. Like,
mm,
there's a lot of there's not any knowledge about design yet, but she gets there because she has now the baby, and kind of she's interested for the baby, and so
mm-hmm,
now she's learning. But what I notice
mm-hmm,
is that
mm-hmm,
I do not get the thing for me as a projector. Um, you know it, right? I gotta get invited. But for me, the no laid a lot in the waiting or not engaged. Let's say instead of waiting, let's reframe it and say not engaging. Yeah, not
Mm-hmm.
engaging
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
until I get invited, until I get asked. And so even if
Mm-hmm.
my mom said, yeah, you got to go and reach out to her, we had a little bit of a thing going on, my sister, I'm like, no. I said, I created recognition. I'm available if she wants to talk, right? And holding that was only
Mm-hmm.
possible for me because I knew my mechanics and what is correct. And this is for me, like, I'm German, I'm defined ego. And you know how committed I am when I commit to something,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when I
Mm-hmm.
say this is the rule, this is the policy, also in my
Mm-hmm.
business, this is the company policy, right? I'm German, like I follow rules to the T. The thing that
Mm-hmm.
is so funny about Germans, but that helps me right now so much. So I said no. And now it is whenever my sister initiates something in terms of even the simplest thing where she recognized me, it was so funny. She also does yoga, right? And she has some Lululemon stuff. I mean, we now are going to talk real life here because this is also what I want to talk with you as well about this just shift in the industry and the business. We need some more real
Mm-hmm.
talk
Mm-hmm.
and real life examples,
Mm-hmm.
not just talking about
Mm-hmm.
the system or about the experience, but really real life. So
Mm-hmm.
she has
Mm-hmm.
some stuff from Lululemon, bought it, and it doesn't fit, right? But it was a couple of months ago. And so she's hesitant. She has a totally open ego and she's scared. 1-3 is like go, and
Mm-hmm.
she wants to return it, but she's too scared because it's too far after she purchased it. Then she texted me and said, when are you in Munich next time? I'm like, yeah, in 2 weeks. And she said, I have some stuff here from Lululemon that I need to return. When you're in Munich, let's go there because you're so much better than I am doing that. So when I looked at the
Mm-hmm.
phone, I'm like, interesting. There is a piece of recognition, yeah. But there
Mm-hmm.
was no invitation. It was just initiation. You go with me there. And even
Mm-hmm.
and in former days, if I could not really dissect, okay, recognition, yeah, but no invitation, I would have gone really quickly into this projector default of, oh, I got attention. I got a little bit, she saw something in
Yeah.
me. And then, of course, I'm tribal. I want to support my sister, and I do it, of course. And a second line, yeah, I can negotiate very well, right? I'm good at it. Of course, I can do it. And then I just responded, "Is that a question?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then she's like, "It would be really nice if you could go there with me." She just still didn't ask me, but I'm like, "But this took me. This
Sure.
took me, and our family is kind of the boot camp, right? Is the, it's the boot camp for us to
Right.
test our integrity with our design." And I said it with love and
Yeah.
understanding about design now instead of being pissed or kind of or falling into the trap of attention versus recognition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I found myself even um, wanting to establish those rules or those policies, those terms of engagement for me with everybody, and kind of there was a phase in not even the beginning, but like I'm still kind of in the beginning of my experiment, but there was a phase for a while where I sort of wanted to tell everybody or inform everybody, here's how to engage with me, ask if I'm available. And the people that are close in your life hopefully are open to better understanding how to respect your energy. Um, but I've just realized, practically speaking, that's not going to happen. So I have to sort of translate to a certain
Yeah.
extent when people reach out. They might not ask me in the way that is correct for me. But I've also come to recognize along those same lines of kind of doing nothing. Um, I've been recently diving into variable and looking at my mind and my brain, and I'm half left, half right, and I do have this self-talk I think that keeps my brain stimulated, and my determination is left, like keep my brain stimulated enough with questions that I can ask myself to see if I'm available. And in the beginning of the experiment for me, I heard a lot of different perspectives for a generator of like, it's not right. Like, don't look in the mirror and talk to yourself. Like, wait for people to ask you. But I find for me, it's actually really effective that I ask myself, am I available for this? Is this okay? Like, as opposed to trying to get everybody around me to talk to me in the
Mhm.
way that is best for me. I can do it for myself. And I think I had this carryover too from yoga and spiritual practices, that it was somehow neurotic or overthinking to be stimulated mentally, that I needed to get my mind really quiet. It's amusing now how many years I dedicated to that project, where now I find actually letting my mind be active and letting myself talk to myself, and let the more left side of my mind ask questions of the more right side of my mind, and I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly, but there's this really fluid sort of exchange between my brain and my mind that allows me to tap into my sacral in a way that feels clear, as opposed to needing the world to necessarily do that for me.
Yeah.
So I try to do a little bit of both. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That like there's you have, like you said with your sister, like you sort of have to, she might not say I'm inviting you, but you can kind of tell. Does that feel like there's a recognition and an invitation, even if the words are not exactly there? And you have to ask yourself if because for a while I was just like, no, unless someone asks if I'm available, I'm not responding.
Yeah, I
People say, I'm in town this weekend. It'd be great to see you. I'm like, okay, do you want to see me? Are you asking if
yeah,
I'm
we
available?
have
Do you want to
to.
get together?
We absolutely we have to. So the gift of human design gives us a very elite position of, and I think the bigger responsibility is to use it also to understand the other person. So not just knowing what is
Mm-hmm.
correct for you and what people supposed to do to connect with us. It is even more a responsibility for those who know about design to approach others, kind of meeting them halfway and not be in a
Mm-hmm.
design arrogance, a human design
Mm-hmm.
arrogance, and sitting there because they don't know better. And I do believe it must be our role modeling and our way how we talk to
Mm-hmm.
them and educate them to that they can do better. We have the advantage of
Mm-hmm.
knowing. And so
Mm-hmm.
when I I see someone saying, "Hey, I'm in town. It would be nice to see you," then it is kind of, I feel like maybe not the right wording, but they send something on a mechanical level. You receive an
Mm-hmm.
invitation, you receive something to respond to, right? It is here. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just the correct words. And then on the other hand, I found, and this is against leadership, when I approach my sister and my mom correctly for their design and really not initiate and ask them good questions, and also really not engage and pull my aura back and really deplug, and for all you sacrals, not respond and really wait in terms of observing and being present with them, people will ask you. I found it that our energetic posture of being open and really engaging in a educational way, in a compassionate way, and understanding that they are fully conditioned, they have no idea or not yet that level that we have, changes a lot without us needing to talk about this. I think the level of design integration happens when you can keynote, when you live it on a mechanical level and people feel the difference and you don't need to talk about it. And this goes also into the business. When I
Mm-hmm.
see people going into design and then their Insta stories are all over, this is correct for me because I do have this and I have this view and this motivation and this. I do this once in a while when I see a lot of new people are in my world, but usually now I don't want to translate. And I'm a transmitter. So yes, there's a certain translation of design into business. This is what I do and I'm good at. But there is a difference between people kind of self-identifying now and having a confidence in that and showing that off instead of, this is me. I know who I am and I know what is correct for me, and that's enough. I don't have to prove that as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like you're talking directly to me
Mhm.
because that's been a lot of my um
No?
well, it's well, I mean, I definitely relate to what you're saying because uh it's been a shift for me since stepping into your world in recognizing, I would say really, really recognizing that what people are feeling most from me is my definition.
Mm.
And if I can really get stabilized in my definition and do my own process, my own uncovering and deconditioning to raise the frequency of my definition to a clear place, that does a lot of the talking for
Yeah.
me. And and it's actually been quite illuminating. I think, the name of my podcast is Cross of Spirit, and I think for a while I was really fascinated by my incarnation cross, the gates of my cross, perhaps more so than really looking at my defined channels as being the place that I kind of settle into most consistently. So looking at my life and looking at all the things that I've pursued, and even what people have always felt from me more than anything, was is definitely keynoted in my defined channels. And it's caused me to pull back a lot from doing like readings or
Yeah.
really talking a lot specifically about human design. I mean, I'm still inviting people in to understand certain aspects of their design, just because I find that it allows me to have a more authentic and interesting conversation when people have basic understanding of certain things in their design. It's not required to be in my world, but I certainly have always sort of brought people in on the journey of what I'm exploring. Um, but yeah, it's been really empowering to recognize that the gift that I offer through my presence, through my aura, is not that I can teach you a lot about design, but that I can condition you with my design, and that feels like much more of a responsibility, to to be clear in my frequency, as opposed to just a mental responsibility to know a lot that I can
Exactly.
share.
Yeah. And this happens.
So I really appreciate that invitation from you
Yeah.
to really dive less into the nuts and bolts of design and more into the actual impact of my aura, and lead from that place.
So yeah, and this is really important because there we have the last piece that I wanted to talk about today with you is what we're heading into, especially this year, is with now Saturn being in
Mhm.
Pisces, that a lot of these areas of spirituality and modalities like human design, astrology, gene keys, everything that is more in the ethereal, in the spiritual
Mhm.
energetics, need grounding, need a earth anchored in embodied, practical structure. And the most
Mhm.
practical structure is the body and not the mind.
Mhm.
And so we will,
Mhm.
that's why I say it is way more, you teach more when you give real life examples than just the entire terminology and information of the gates and whatever, and even speak through gates and whatever. And yeah, this is because I have this or this. And I did that too. And now I feel really, especially since coming back from London, I desire for myself just to go into my business, go on social media and talk real life and living it. And there's no distinction between business and life. This is what I stand for, creating a lifestyle business, because when you live your design, you're most profitable in your business and whatever you
Mhm.
do, right? Or in your
Mhm.
field of gathering resources. It doesn't have to be your own business, can be in corporate, can be in whatever it is. Um,
Mhm.
but what I want to say is that, yes, when we live our design, we're of most benefit to others. And in order to do that, we need to dial down instead of focusing so much, how can I live it more? The entire way of dialing down everything that distracts us from it and pull that out of it is the bigger part. Like I said last week, you are
Mhm.
it already, and it is shining
Mhm.
on full fire, but there's so many layers of this, what is not required on top of it, what is not required is the effort and the positioning and presentation of whatever, trying to be someone else. It's kind of like the music on top of it that is blasting, and this is not us. Yeah. While this full on beautiful music that we can dance to is underneath. And when we dial that out
Hmm.
as a thing down, and how do we dial it down? By getting out of the head. And this industry needs, or life in general needs, really these role models. That's why we are the line sixes and the projectors, these two components that are preparing for the new era, the new cycle, the new cross, because then it's only about the embodiment. And projectors are the ones who can guide people into their truth, into their embodiment. So when I now look into the industry, what will crumble, and why my post that I did the other day went viral, is because there's such a longing for real talk, for real life experience, for real business stories and approaches that work individualized, but also really practical. Like as I said, form. It needs a form, and form principle in design is the body and not just the mind about
Hmm.
knowing it. And so this is what I'm very
Hmm.
excited about, to see, to observe, and also to lead, that we create more and talk about more. Okay, let's sit down and say, how does a conversation in a 1 hour session with a client, when I want to end and I feel that I'm over giving and this client is also over receiving, yeah, what do I say? And I have scripts for my client, and I have a form, I kind of a structure, a concept with my third eye to teach you what to say. This is required, and not just, yeah, have healthy boundaries, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
That
Hmm.
is. This is so good, and you're more and more doing it, and I'm so excited for this, because then we simplify it. We have the wisdom, the
Hmm.
knowledge, but then we can really go into the experiment.
Hmm. I feel that. I feel the simplification. It's also, I mean, it's scary
Yeah.
because, uh, and on the one hand, I understand that it's just a matter of being it, and on the other hand, I recognize that there's a journey involved. Oftentimes, for me, and I could go into my channels and things, but I won't. But that how I arrive at the simple is often through a journey of struggle,
Absolutely.
and it's that, like, Wizard of Oz thing. It's like, oh, the whole time I could have just clicked my heels together 3 times and gone home, but I had to go on the journey to connect
Yeah.
with
And this is,
the struggle, and also really to learn also for me what is not worth fighting for. And so that's a lot of what I've always done in my work is go through kind of the long, hard struggle path and then
yeah,
teach people how to avoid that and just go
it's a
most more
lesson,
simply.
right?
So I feel like that's shown up for me. Yeah, it's been showing up for me in design, and it is feeling like I'm settling more and more into the simple. And it does often bring up a lot of things for my open ego, because I just posted publicly for the first time and sent out to my list that I don't teach yoga anymore. That's something that I really don't want to be called out to do anymore. Um, I was feeling that way for many years, that I was sort of getting kind of bored with answering those calls, but I didn't understand where my actual genius lied. It was so easy to see it expressing through yoga that was what people saw me as. That's how I established myself. But taking that away, I think it felt natural that, oh, I need to bring something else in instead.
Yeah.
And so human design kind of came in. So instead of teaching yoga, I'll teach human design, or instead of doing private one-on-one yoga sessions, I'll offer readings. And taking both of those away, then it's slowly really stepping into recognizing the value of my frequency and of my aura. And if what am I selling if it's not something I can teach you or share it with you? If it's just me,
Yes.
then that brings a different level of hmm?
Yeah. A level of.
Just a different level of
Yeah.
accountability and self-awareness,
Yeah. And
where I'm not hiding behind a system
exactly,
necessarily. I am the
exactly,
system. It's
exactly.
me.
Yeah, and this is the thing. You don't, especially projectors, need to master a system, because we deconstruct what we see. and we need to be mastering of what we deconstruct and then giving that guidance. But generators and manogens are here to master, and especially generators are here to master yourself and what you're passionate about and what your sacral drives you towards, and your and it is expressed through your channels. So that is that. But how does it show up in life is what you respond to and what you are guided to. That is the mastery, and it is more, and you will receive another call. So for us 6-2s, it is really different calls in different phases of our life. So this call was not wrong. It was just a season of our evolution. Yeah. And the 6 lines are the ones who really transform the most on our and the entire time. We are different personalities. I mean, look, I'm even astounded. Every week I look different. Every day, certain things on a cellular level, we evolve and change. And this is really when people say, you're not the same person who I knew in our family as well. And so now you let another thing go. You explain that we need to get rid of it. We thrive on a different area. One thing this leadership aspect again, like when you're my client, you're in my field, like I gotta empower you and step into a different way of leadership, right? Also for this space, because it doesn't mean it's just about yoga. It is about this entire evolution. I don't say awakening, evolution of the collective, and preparing that for the new cycle. And we need way more cycles in their joy. Yeah, because that is the life force energy. And we go into a very dark phase of humanity. The new cycle, the new cross is not fun. And we get a little glimpse already with Pluto going into Aquarius on 23rd of this month. So we need really way showers and leaders and role models who say, yeah, we can trust ourselves. We can really trust our gut, our body, and intelligence, and not what we see in the outside and what we respond to and what we get frightened of. And so you, with your definition, and I'm looking into it, you will always feel that there's certain effort, let's not say struggle, but a certain effort to put into to achieve something. That's you, because this is what you model, and this is healthy. That's also something I get really, really fired up if people just say, oh, I don't have to put effort, I don't have to work, I just want to have an aligned business. And like, you know what? It's fucking hard work to build a business. That's why most businesses fail after 1 or 2 years, because it is all like, oh, I just do what is in alignment. I'm like, I'm a projector, and I work way more than 4 hours per day because I'm building something fucking big. Yeah. So this is one thing. But when I look at your chart, then I want to tell you something which I say a lot of my clients who have these 2 channels of the awakening and the struggle. My projector client, pure individual, the 2-4, also has it. And I found that there is a lot of struggle, because in life, you experience a lot of struggle in life. And people who come to you also experience a lot of struggle in their life, even though they don't have that channel, but this is how you can help them decondition, is because they do not live fully expressed from their joy and passion. So their sense of self, their identity is not fueled by what lights them up, and it doesn't matter if generator or not. In general, let's just talk life in general. People are not living their fullest self because they do not dare that it is possible to live a life based on joy and find what makes them lit up and their passion, and following that passion and doing what they love. And that's why they struggle. So this entire channel of struggle is so dominant for you as well, because you have not fully lived you have not had the awakening of your pure self identity through passion and joy only, solely, period. Yeah. And then the struggle is so dominant, but actually it's vice versa. It's like, do more of this awakening, of this sacral joy, of this identity work, of this soul self, of the sense of self And then the struggle shows you just where to put effort in so that you thrive. And the pulse comes from the root first to the spleen. It's this energy. First the root, and then the spleen says, this is how we thrive. And this is worth putting effort in because you know it gets you to more joy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that brings up interesting things for me. Both, I resonate with what you're saying, and then there's a frustration in that because it's not that I have not pursued my joy. It's not that I've not, that I've denied it. I've definitely pursued it, and it's been a struggle to pursue it in a way that's sustainable, or to pursue it, as part of my business. I guess that's I'll share that, I started out as an actor and as a performer and artist. And I put in a fair amount of struggle in my early years trying to get that career going for myself so I could sustain it. And the struggle was too much for me at that time. And when I found yoga and started teaching yoga, there was a lot of recognition that came from that, and there was a lot of satisfaction in that. And I think there's a big part of me too that really loves to dive into patterns and explore details and test those on with the collective. And so it gave me this really satisfying feedback loop teaching yoga, of also initiating people into the struggle, for meaning and to connect with their hearts and all this. So there was a lot of opportunity for me to bring my definition into
52.9.
my role as a yoga teacher.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But there was, and throughout that, I've always continued to pursue music and continued to make albums and write and explore and take dance classes and on the side. But it never got to a point where I felt like I could fully lean into that and let maybe some of my role as a teacher in that capacity settle.
Yeah.
This is the yoga and the teaching always seemed to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was more and more of a struggle to find time to do the other things. So, where I'm at now, there's sort of this in between with me showing up as more of a mentor, or showing up in this space, taking what I've learned from yoga, from human design, and also from music, and expanding my audience, I suppose, of who I'm speaking to. But I have an album that's almost finished. I've started taking I'm taking pole dancing classes. I'm about to start doing boxing lessons, and I'm exploring my body. I'm exploring things that do light me up. I'm exploring struggles and challenges that are worth it, that connect me with that tenacity that I do love. I'm a very devoted individual.
Yeah.
And there still is, and this is, what I'm most excited to work with you on, to explore, is how to bring all those aspects of myself into my business. So it's not, in the past, it was always so compartmentalized. Like, here's what I do for work. Here's what I'm trying to explore, in my creative play. Here's how people know me in the industry. And then here's what I really want to be doing. And I realized, like, it's all too much. There was a point where I had 5 different Instagrams and 3 different Twitters and 2, because it was just me trying to compartmentalize myself in all these boxes. Yeah, it's like, no, I mean, it's all a part of who I am. And even if with music and with my roles, my identity as an artist, even if that's not something I'm directly paid for in terms of my music or in terms of what I create, I recognize that that's a part of my brand. That's a part of who I am. That's a part of how I play and how I explore. And yeah, I'm definitely in a phase of discovery around what the future looks like for me, in my business, and how all these pieces really do synthesize. I know for sure that I'm just as lit up as I always have been around empowering people. I think, when I first started teaching yoga, the reason I did a yoga training is because I was learning so much about, at the time, Eastern philosophy and meditation. And I was very much in this inquiry of, like, what's my purpose? Why am I here? How do I leverage my thoughts into reality? What is this all about? And so I was learning so much on my own, which I always have, and I would share it with my friends. They would be going through things, and I would just sit with them and share what I was learning, and they would always feel more empowered. I realized my whole life, that's what I've done, is I've sought to empower myself and empower my community, my friends. And I thought, how can I do this as a job? How can I make a business out of this? And And I thought maybe I'll be a hypnotherapist, or maybe I'll be a life coach, or maybe I was 20 years old at the time. So I saw a flyer for a yoga teacher training and thought, oh, maybe that would be a useful format to empower people. So it's been full circle, but now realizing that I can take away the identity piece or the job
The
title
label.
and go straight for the
The
heart of what
label.
I've always
Yeah.
the
Yep.
label and go straight to the heart of what I've always done, which may incorporate yoga and other
Yeah.
things, but that's not about
No.
yoga. It's about, the empowerment.
Absolutely. And that is a beautiful closing, because it is about, we empower, especially as an individual, you're here to empower others to live life as an individual, as themselves. Yeah. And for
Mm-hmm.
you as a sixth
Mm-hmm.
line, it is, you just model what it means to be yourself, and that all these parts are part of it. And when we then soon put
Mm-hmm.
it together in a business context, it is just you as an empowerment mentor. That's it. But you empower others to be themselves, and making it
Mm-hmm.
so simple, and just by, yeah, and this is what I do. This is me being myself. And I just model that for you, that it is possible. And holding that consistently will bring in the people that want that for themselves, but they don't come
Mm-hmm.
because they want to have human design. They don't come to have yoga. They don't come to learn singing from you. Yeah, it's all you. And then you go like, yeah, that's me. But what is it that you want to express? Where are you struggling with? What is it that, like, this awakening really from will awaken them? They need, people need their identity. They lost themselves, and so they want to find themselves when they
Mm-hmm.
come to you. And this is making it that simple as a business model is scary. It's really scary, because our mind goes, oh, but I need these credentials. I need to have a concept. I need to have a step-by-step plan and modules and programs and titles. I'm like, no, exactly not. And I tell you, when you create experiences with all and bring all the passion into it, and just let your cycle use these tools whenever they come up on that day, that's the best experience of people. And this is
Mm-hmm.
what I feel,
Mm-hmm.
and you go like, yeah, because this is the last piece
Mm-hmm.
today, and then my throat is done for today. But this is what I
Of
feel when
course.
I go into trends of this industry in this day and age. Yeah. Um, People are
Mm-hmm.
done with information. People want experiences and transformation in their unique way. And that's why I as well go into myself and my own journey into in person. I always was one-on-one with my mentors as close as I can, but now I want to get even closer. I want to touch them. I want to be in aura. Yeah. And so I had this in aura
Mm-hmm.
experience that catapulted me into a different self-awareness, and now I'm hosting that for my clients as well this month for the first time, and I'm so happy. And so people will seek more in-person experiences, and that's your jam, and you love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
That's next week. I'm going to Costa
Yeah.
Rica. Ginger, I am so grateful to you. Like, you've given me in the last several weeks of really diving into your world. You've given me so much permission that I didn't know I needed
Mm.
to really be myself at an even more profound level. And I'm so grateful to you. And it's been such a, yes, it's scary, but it also just feels so natural. I've launched my empowerment mentorship programs based off our conversations,
So happy. Yeah.
and it's been really sweet as well. The last thing, what I'll share too, that I put it out there, and then I'm thinking, okay, well, how many people are signing up, or this or that, but everybody that's come through, whether they're just inquiring or they're signing up and they're working with me,
Already did?
it's the
Did
people
he
that have
already
said,
get,
like, I don't know
hold on.
what's
Don't
that?
brush over this. You put it out there and people are already joining, and you didn't tell me, and we didn't celebrate.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a handful of clients I'm working with. Yeah. Well, I was doing coaching before. I
I
was
know.
doing like human design
Yeah, yeah.
coaching. So just I changed all my branding. I changed the my website. I changed everything and really let it be focused. I mean, I mentioned human design, but it's really diving into what we're talking about. That it's a direct experience.
Yeah.
And
We
um,
gotta talk about this after.
And
More. Yeah.
yeah, I would love to. Yeah, no, I mean, love to. But the people that have showed up, it's the folks that have said, I don't even know what this is, but there's something about it that resonates so deeply with
Yeah.
me. And just feeling that the more steady I am in my frequency, not trying to chase the trends, not trying to worry, is it too much money? Should I change this? Should I change that? But just holding steady.
Yeah.
First of all, it holds me accountable to actually being in my frequency and doing my own kind of process to stay aligned with my value and stay in recognition of who I am. But it's allowed for a more clear signal, I think, to be broadcast and for my world to reconfigure a little bit to accommodate for the people that are really up to speed with who I am.
I'm
So I
so
really,
happy.
really appreciate you for seeing me and for your guidance. Of course, it goes without saying, but for anybody interested in not even just human design, but for anyone that's really looking to set themselves up to thrive in the world as it is now, but certainly in the direction things are going. It's amazing to me, the conversations I have with people. Everybody's feeling it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really take I take it to heart that, my role right now is to trailblaze and is to create a new paradigm around how I do my business so other people can see that.
Exactly.
And that really has been pulled into focus and established and fortified through my time spent with you. So
that's my
highly
design.
recommend everybody checks out your world. And you give you provide so much value just for free on your page as well. So
yeah, and we all
Ginger
know that true transformation never comes from free because I'm a projector and it requires guidance. So
oh yes, dive deep.
that is the free thing is just the taste test if you vibe with my directness, because that's the shortcut to success. But my design, I'm the design of a marketer and a salesperson. So if you want to build your business and you got to make money, you got to get good at selling, got to package up the right products and self-promote, right? And self-marketing. And it's not that you cannot make money. It's usually the issue is it's the wrong marketing. It's the wrong packaging and not aligned with the design. And this is what I'm good at, to shift it, to package the right package and sell it in the correct way, which is the channels and definition. And that's my jam. So people can come to my world to experience that for themselves.
Absolutely. Well, everybody in my world, not everybody, but certainly a lot of people from my world will be directed your way because I see and appreciate you and the tremendous value that you bring to the world and certainly to my life. So,
I'm so happy.
Thank you. It's been an honor getting to hang out with you, and I'll look forward to more soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, go rest that throat. My pleasure, Ginger. Lots of love. Bye.